দেশগুলোর অন্যতম বড় আন্তর্জাতিক ফোরাম যার সদস্য রাষ্ট্র 56টি দেশ, তার নাম ওআইসি। অর্গানাইজেশন অফ ইসলামিক কনফারেন্সের হেডকোয়ার্টার একটি গাম্বিয়াতে, যারা আগামী 2022 সালে এই 56 দেশের যারা রাষ্ট্রপ্রধান, সরকার প্রধান, তাদের জন্য সম্মেলন আয়োজন করতে যাচ্ছে। সম্প্রতি রোহিঙ্গা ইস্যুতে আন্তর্জাতিক আদালতে যে গাম্বিয়ার মামলা দায়ের, তার পেছনে গুরুত্বপূর্ণ ভূমিকা এই ওআইসির পক্ষ থেকে সে মামলা দায়ের হয়েছে এবং এই গাম্বিয়ার ওআইসির সম্মেলন কেন্দ্রে আছে একাত্তর। আমরা কথা বলছি এটির প্রধান নির্বাহী ইয়াকুব দিবার সাথে, যার কাছ থেকে আমরা জানতে পারবো ওআইসি এই রোহিঙ্গা সংকটকে কিভাবে দেখছে এবং বাংলাদেশে যে প্রায় 11 লাখ রোহিঙ্গা আছে তাদের ভবিষ্যৎ কি, কোনোদিন কি তারা বাংলাদেশ থেকে ফিরতে পারবে, তার জন্য ওআইসি কি করতে পারে, সদস্য রাষ্ট্রগুলোর ভূমিকায় কি হতে পারে। Thank you, Mr. Yakub Diba, CEO, for welcoming us. The Ekattor and here. Bangladeshi people very curious to know the role of OIC about the Muslim refugees, and another Muslim country is hosting this, more than 1 million people for 2.5 years. So what do you think about the future of those people?
Thank you very much, Rupa, and welcome to the Gambia, West Africa. As a small nation, we felt that the Rohingyas deserve far better than what they are currently undergoing. And we felt we would exercise our rights, exercise our membership rights to bring the issue of the Rohingyas to the attention of the entire world. And in so doing, we hope we should be able to leverage some action that will bring about some a resolution of their problem. And this is the motivation for Gambia.
Why did Gambia was part of that among these 56 countries? Does not OIC is giving enough importance on Rohingya crisis to putting a small country in this big issue?
Well, I believe already the OIC is fully committed, as I said, in various resolutions. And the Gambia felt that the issue of the Rohingyas needed to be given another attention. We needed to take the Rohingya issue to another level. And this was why in February of this year, 2019, we wholeheartedly supported an ad hoc meeting of ministers of the OIC to come to the Gambia, as well as take it to a level where it goes beyond just talking about it, but initiating some action, which culminated in the Gambia moving this the issue of the Rohingyas to The Hague, International Criminal Court.
In the court, when we were listening Aung San Suu Kyi,
right,
she claimed that that was an armed conflict in between the people, and they had no choice to throw them out because they cannot entertain terrorism inside the country.
I think that's a lame excuse, because the problem started in the Rakhine state of Myanmar, and the Rohingyas have been part and parcel of the Myanmar population. Of course, when you have issues like mass movement of people, over 1 million people across borders, you are bound to have all kinds of problems. And it's easy for one to just, come up with an excuse that this was an armed conflict. These were people who were born and bred in the Rakhine state of Myanmar. They have all their livelihoods. Now, by an act of Myanmar parliament, you displace over 1 million people.
Do you think it's a big challenge to prove the genocide, rape, whatever you mentioned, ethnic cleansing happening in Myanmar, in Rakhine state?
There is no denial that there has been ethnic cleansing. You do not profile a people based on ethnicity. You do not profile a people based on their conscience, based on their religion. And we've seen live pictures where babies have been mutilated, people have been killed, raped. The picture that Aung San Suu Kyi, the electronic map that she showed at the trial, really, I think that's not, good enough justification for what has happened. The evidence is there for everybody to see. We see live on our screens mass movement of people. In the past 2 years, It started with 700,000, rising up to another 300,000, another 80-something thousand. Now over 1 million people living substandard lives. This can breed a lot of things. Dehumanizing status of the people. We know there has been issues of sexual harassment. We know there have been rape. We know there have been people have been denied a livelihood. They lived under subhuman conditions. And this is something that the international community should not just sit by and watch it happen under Myanmar. They have a responsibility as a state under the conventions of the United Nations to keep every citizen in Myanmar safe and dignified. And right now, I guess what the Rohingyas are arguing is very right. Myanmar is saying they can come back, but that's not enough. When the people go back, they must go back not as third-rate refugees. They must go back as citizens of Myanmar, restore their citizenship, revoke the 1982 Citizenship Act, and ensure that you restore their dignity for sustainable peace and progress in Myanmar.
There is no successful event from OIC in recent years. In every higher-level conference, you criticize each other for the failure of the Palestine issue,
right,
and other conflict running in between the Muslim countries. So how much you are hopeful about going into the Rohingya issues?
Well, I'm very, very hopeful. If you look at like you said, the Palestinian conflict has been a very long-running issue and one that is seemingly intractable. But if you consider the plight of the Rohingyas, which is barely 5 years, less than 5 years, if you measure the impact that has been made so far, I think that gives everybody the hope that very soon we will see a resolution of the Myanmar issue. Because Gambia has taken one big practical step to actually bring this before the international court. Even if, at the end of the day, I don't know what the verdict will be, the fact that Gambia was able to successfully bring this to the attention of the ICC is in itself a victory for the Rohingya people. So I'm very hopeful that very soon we will see some form of restoration of the dignity, sustainable peace, and the restoration of the citizenship of the Rohingya people back in Myanmar. That's the choice. I mean, I think Myanmar government doesn't have a choice. They don't have a choice. I gave you an analogy of the situation in this country.
We found that the Myanmar, the government and the military, they don't care anything. So whatever the international community is saying, they don't care for the humanitarian ground. They did not get proper access of the Annan Commission or UN. So do you think the verdict will carry by them? If they not, what will be the destination?
Well, you see, no country is an island. No country is an island in this world. And I am quite sure that if the verdict turns in the favor of the Rohingyas, well, Myanmar has a moral obligation. Any country has just so far to go in terms of denying, in terms of not accepting or going by the dictates of the international, the opinion of the international world. The international criminal justice is one country where I think Myanmar is a state party to the ICC. And if you are a state party to certain conventions, including the UN Convention on People and Human Rights, you have an obligation as a state party to make sure you do what's needful. It may not, we may not see a complete resolution of everything, up front, but some kind of tentative steps may end up, culminating in bigger action. For instance, I mean, the fact that Aung San Suu Kyi would be the one going to The Hague to defend Myanmar's position is in itself very significant. And we all know that there has been calls by a number of parties for the Nobel Peace Prize to be withdrawn from her. I mean, these are all heavy moral obligations that naturally will bring pressure to bear on the Myanmar government and the military.
What do you see the future of this million people, the Rohingya people? I'm
an optimist by nature, and I know every minute under torture, every second under certain dehumanizing circumstances is pain enough, for anybody to bear. So every minute for the Rohingyas really is eternity. Suffering, they are suffering all kinds of situations. And the Myanmar government cannot continue to defy international opinion. And I hope those countries that have the power to unleash or to bring onto Myanmar to comply would also not continue to pay indifference to the call of these people. These are human beings. They need to go back to their countries. They have a right to citizenship, to a state. And Bangladesh is really groping under very difficult circumstances. I mean, imagine out of the blue, you have 1 million people crossing your border. Look at Cox's Bazar. If you go to Cox's Bazar, I mean, the kind of suffering is untold. This is not something that anybody can ignore. So we, as Gambia, we are hopeful that this is the first step. And of course, I am not a legal person, but I know there are many more steps that we can take. And we hope that even today, that the Ummah is resolved in making sure that the OIC, gets. And we are gradually getting the support of countries like Canada and others. These are big players in the international community. So I'm really hopeful. I'm an optimist. I hope that Gambia's initiative will very soon galvanize into big success and big relief for the Myanmar people, for the Rohingya people of Myanmar.
You already mentioned about the Bangladesh.
Right.
Tell more about the people who are tolerating the extra, million people. They are sharing their bread and butter, their spaces, and we are overpopulated country. And how do you define the decision made by the politician, the government, to accept these million people on fine morning?
Absolutely, but I think the Bangladesh government must be commended. I think this is the true manifestation of the Islamic values, the values of democracy, the values of kinship, the values of good neighborliness. Bangladesh could have shut down their border. Nobody can imagine the consequences of that. You would see hundreds of thousands of people dead along the Myanmar-Bangladeshi border. So I think Bangladesh must be commended for opening their doors, even though Bangladesh is highly, very densely populated, one of the most densely populated countries in the world. They've been able to show their generosity, their magnanimity, and I know also quite a number of aid agencies are in situ, trying to help alleviate the suffering of people, especially at Cox's Bazar. And this cannot continue.
Two more things. One is the most powerful neighboring country is India and China, who are not member of OIC. So if they are not still very pro-Bangladesh on this issue, and if they continue this kind of calmness, and also they have access to the Security Council in UN. So you mentioned that you will go further. So how do you find this challenge to deal with this powerful nation on this issue?
Absolutely. We know the reason why the Rohingya issue seems to be protracted is because it has some geopolitical and other, underpinnings. For instance, we all know China's stance on the Uyghur minority. We know the Uyghurs are Muslims. We know China is grappling with the problem of the Uyghurs. We also know that recently you've had, even these days, there's serious demonstrations in India. And I'm afraid they all have Muslim minorities. And like you said, China has veto power in the UN. But again, imagine now, one would not have expected that such a loud voice would come up from a small, tiny country somewhere in Africa, in West Africa, you know. So it's a measure of comfort. And I guess from what we are seeing in India, from what the Chinese are also doing, the Uyghur issue now has become another international kind of issue in the limelight. So I believe the sum total of all the little efforts would bring some pressure to bear on the Myanmar government. And the issue of the Rohingyas is quite different from the issues in India and so on. And apart from the fact that, you know, the Rohingyas have been persecuted, they have been denied a home. Whereas, as opposed to India and China, they have their ethnicities living with them. They have differences, which is normal. And they are going about it in their own ways to resolve it. We expect Myanmar to do the same. Restore the Citizenship Act of 1982. And then the Rohingya problem will be solved once and for all. There will be sustainable peace. There will be sustainable development. Everybody will live in peace. The region will be a haven of peace for everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
কথা বলছিলাম ইয়াকুব দিবার সাথে, যিনি ওআইসির গাম্বিয়ার প্রধান নির্বাহী হিসেবে কাজ করছেন এবং পৃথিবীর মানচিত্রের একেবারে উল্টো জায়গা থেকে বাংলাদেশে যে রোহিঙ্গা সংকট এবং মিয়ানমারের যে অনাচার, সেটির আরেক দৃষ্টিভঙ্গি কারোর পক্ষে দেখা সম্ভব, সেটি এরই মধ্যে গাম্বিয়া প্রমাণ করেছে। এবং আমরা আশা করছি এই আলোচনার পর গাম্বিয়ার যে দূরদর্শিতা এবং ওআইসির যে সহযোগিতা, তার ভিত্তিতে গাম্বিয়ারও আশা যে রোহিঙ্গা ইস্যুতে তারা শেষ পর্যন্ত হয়তো সমাধানের জায়গায় পৌঁছতে পারবে এবং যে সকল রোহিঙ্গা জনগোষ্ঠী এখন বাংলাদেশে আছে তারা নিরাপদে তাদের নিজ দেশে ফেরত যেতে পারবে। থাকুন একাত্তরে।